Hey mortals, how's it going? Here with Steven as always, and or as almost always, and we are excited. We're talking Flesh Eater Courts. We haven't really done like a hey, let's do a big codex review type thing,
No.
and we're still kind of not really doing that. But what we are excited about is we have both made up a list, and we're both going to explain to you and the other one why our list is better than the other person's list. I don't actually know that that's true. I don't even know if we know which one of these two lists is better.
No.
Um,
No.
but this army looks super
Did you
fun.
just have Oshiran in it?
No.
Well, then mine's better.
You're, yeah. We'll get there. We'll get there. So before we jump into that, we want to jump into something else, which is Warcom. Now we missed just by like a day last week the Meta Watch. Um, Steven,
Yes.
Lumineth and Skaven winning Worlds out in Atlanta. What do you think?
Yeah. It was an interesting event. The Worlds. It had a very distinct format. Like they played something like 12 games of Warhammer in 3 days.
It's like a double elimination.
It was double elimination, which I think is crazy,
Mhm.
and no one should ever do that.
Matt Rose in the video. Matt Rose was saying like he thought that it gave. There's a video up here, and he felt that it gave like a more realistic take on the winners in a pristine way. And I don't know. I kind of agree with him because again, 7 of the 8 factions at the top.
Yeah,
There's 7 different factions.
Yeah, I
in
mean
the
there
top
is, and I could totally see an argument for like, okay, you do one day of like Swiss, and then you do a second day of like top 8, and you do elimination. Like, okay, fine, but like 12 games is a lot of games. That is a lot of games.
It's
Like,
a-
I don't believe anyone in the final had any brain cells left to make any decisions with,
Yeah.
right? That is such
Is
an
that
endurance
is
test.
that who the winner was? The winner is just who had the most endurance. of
Yeah,
getting-
whose army required the least amount of thought to pilot. But no, in all seriousness, I think I would not have called these two armies to be in the final. And
I
all
would have
these
done well.
lists.
If that was true, I would have done really well here.
That's true. Yeah, I think
Peace Claw Raider.
destruction. I was expecting two destruction forces to be at top. But yeah, no, the list. What I think that my biggest takeaway from this Meta Watch was that the armies that were all in the top 8 were not, apart from the Skaven one, which we could talk about, but all the other ones seemed fairly mixed force, like fairly balanced armies. They had a couple of support pieces, couple of hammers, couple of like screens. They were very balanced. They weren't like really extreme, like spamming one unit to like capitalize
No.
on like an exploit. They were very mixed armies. Like I don't know if you saw the ogre one, but the ogre one was a very like
It
couple
had-
of units of gluttons, couple of units
Yeah,
of
the
iron
stone-
fist.
one
It had
Stonehorn.
one stonehorn. It had one cannon. It was
It
this
was
really great
mixed.
rounded
Yeah.
list, and I think that just goes to show that I think that the players who are at the top of this game are players who just know how to pilot an army and aren't the ones who are exploiting a
Right.
book
Right.
like rule or like a unit that's been like maybe undercosted.
Matt Rose himself said this. Of course, he's the lead designer, so he wants
Yeah,
that to be true.
But I agree with him.
But I do agree with him. Tom from SoCal has brought this up with me before. He said, kind of as long as he's been doing Sigmar's stuff, I don't know if it was always like this. I didn't play first and second edition,
Mhm.
but he said really it's a lot about the player. And yeah, these lists were crazy. Like when you told me a Lumineth list won, I would not have imagined it looked like this.
Yeah, and it's not like when you think that you think, oh, okay, so Teclis and 40 archers did the business, but there's no archers in the
No
list.
archers.
Not a single archer.
No,
So,
no, yeah.
yeah, it goes to show that, a good pilot with a balanced army does well.
How do you make this game like this? How do they hang on to this? How do they hang on to this for the rest of third? How do they hang on to it when fourth starts? Is it just fixing things every 3 months?
Yeah, I don't know. I think, I think third edition has been the most balanced form of Sigmar, like since first edition. So I think they've got a good system. They clearly have a pattern, and they should just keep going. I think they could probably do with hopefully they slow the book release down in fourth edition, and they actually get some time to test these books properly before they go to print. Because I think maybe the tail end of this edition has suffered from
We scramble a little bit.
scrambling to get the books out, and some of them just come out and there's obvious, like, how many of the last 6 or 7 books have had to have a day one patch where they've like got something wrong, or there's been something clearly broken that they've had to address. I think if they can give them a bit more time in the oven, then I think the game's in the right place. I think the 3 month sort of reassessment, rebalancing, I think is a great, especially if we keep the cadence of a year-long season, like with a battle pack.
Yeah, yeah.
If we keep that every 3 months, at getting a kind of, an update and a check, I think that works really well.
I'm so glad it's a year now. Can you imagine? We'd be gearing up for a new book.
Oh, it's so much nicer. Like that year where we had one every 6 months was brutal. Like it was so hard to think about what to play and all the new rules you had to remember and the battle plans. It was exhausting.
Dawn Rider's not really that impressive, right? They're not bad. They're fast.
I think cavalry just have a really good place right now.
Yeah.
I think you see a lot more speedy like cavalry flying units in lists at the moment because I think the battle plans most of them have more objectives than fewer. There's more like multiple objective games. There's very few that are like 2 or 3. And so I think that warrants you having a couple of units in your army that can get places quick and react to things.
It's a weird list. It looks like there's almost nothing in it actually. When you think, I mean, Teclis is expensive, but when you look at this list, you're like, that board presence is tiny. He has almost 200 points in endless spells.
Yep.
Of course, again, he has Teclis. It's a crazy list. Now, not to take anything away from Tom, you were saying that maybe this list was exploiting a momentary minute of oops, we messed up.
Yeah, so the change that they made, and I think a version of this has existed beforehand, but the change that they made, which isn't even related to, you wouldn't think these two things would correlate, but they changed the large Skaven chariot things, if you will. I don't know what they're called. There's the bell,
Screaming Bell,
and then
or
there's
the Plague Furnace.
The Plague Furnace.
Yeah.
They're like these big, like chariot-y things. War wagons, I guess, is what we'd probably call the war wagons. But they used to work on the fact that there's a
there it is. Now you see it.
Oh, someone gets a membership.
Thanks, Soups.
Thanks, Soups.
And now you guys
Disco
can see that we
time.
have our new flashing lights. Whenever,
This is cool.
Yeah, it's fun, right?
So
I like the idea of you being insanely distracted by it.
I was
forever,
distracted. I was like, what's happening?
Moving on forever, never getting used to it.
So yeah, they changed the rule where before the Skaven war wagons would have to be escorted by a block of infantry to move.
Yes.
And they removed that restriction, so now they can just move on their own. Like the Daughters of Cain one. The Daughters of Cain one can just move.
It can just move.
Even though it's
unclear.
Not got an engine.
Unclear how.
Yeah, unclear how it moves.
Prayer from to Cain.
Yeah, it just moves. Anyway, the Skaven one's got the same treatment, but because of that, they also have a rule where because there's a Grey Seer on top of them, they can always pass wounds back. So what they would do is the Screaming Bells would actually be the front line taking the hits, and they were the screens. And the reason they're the screens is because they can control how many wounds they take, more or less, because they can pass wounds off. And then what they would do is they would let them take the hits, let them take the charges, get them to really low, and then use the Screaming Bells once per game ability to crack the bell and summon a Vermin Lord and replace the unit. So you would basically get these screens.
This is 4 times.
Which is 4 times. So you would get these really good screens that were protecting the big blocks of Plague Censor Bearers who you buff up throughout the course of the game to get them really jacked up. They can get really strong, but they're very fragile, so you have to keep them protected. So this whole thing is you have the bells out front keeping the ironically keeping the Skaven
little rats,
rat guys safe. And then every time one of your screens explodes, you get a greater demon of Rat Kingdom to then replace it, and then you have a bunch of those guys running around just causing havoc.
Which are good, right? And so this seems to be something that maybe has to get fixed. Now, Skaven players are probably out there saying like, "Oh my gosh, please let us have something for a little bit." And this book has been in a weird place. I think like it's either this seems kind of like one of those. This is kind of stupid, right?
Yeah, and I think the reason why this book has been in this place is because it wasn't really a new book. It didn't really get that many changes when it made the jump from 2nd to 3rd edition.
Right.
They kind of gave it a little bit of an adjustment. They gave it the new things it needed to bring it up to the same level, but they didn't really go in and like tinker with the faction, make a bunch of changes. It plays, kind of just like a 2nd edition army, and that meant that people had to find the ways to like make lists that were a bit janky.
Now, I will say this. Depending on what armies you play, I will say, of course, Zach bragging about how cool Beastclaw Raiders are. I will typically pick up a Screaming Bell in one go if I'm not having to deal with, passing the wounds thing. So historically, I've ignored them.
But that's because before the bells were behind the rats, so you could clear the rats before you get to the bell.
Right.
Now
right.
the rats are all firmly safe behind it, so you can't deal
Right.
with the ablative wounds.
At the very least, I'm not going to be able to deal with it very easily. It's because it changes for certainly. Yeah, I just feel like passing wounds to things is something I want to see change, and I think we are. We saw it in cities, and I think we've seen it in the Flesh Eater Courts book too.
Yep.
I think we're seeing it being switched to a ward, maybe
Yes.
giving each other wards, maybe improving wards.
Yep.
I don't think the new Flesh Eater Courts book has any passing. Does
No
it?
wound passing, no, but
No
they
wound
do have. You can give Oshiran a 4-up ward,
You can give
which is pretty gnarly because he's got 16 wounds.
yeah, no, that's
And
but
he's
but
pretty
he is
healy.
but he is a Mortark. I mean, he is
Yeah.
yeah. So I'm liking this. I do think that they have learned from that. I'm not in love with wound passing.
No.
For whatever reason, I don't think I was in love with it in 40k. I'm not in love with it in Sigmar either. It
I
seems
think when the edition started, it wasn't too bad. Like, there's the Stormcast unit Praetors that have it, but they're
They're
only
not-
a little unit. There's not many of them. It's
and
like,
they're
okay.
they're guarding a little foot guy.
Or a dragon. They can guard a dragon.
They can guard a dragon.
Yeah, they can take wounds off anyone.
Oh, interesting.
So as long as they're a hero, so yeah, Krondys can have
don't
his
you
bodyguard.
you also have to pick somebody, right?
They have to pick someone.
They have to pick somebody.
Yeah,
That's a little bit better. If you're having to pick a foot hero, then I'm a little more into it.
Yeah, because then they're like exclusive bodyguards. Yeah,
That's
for
cool.
sure. I agree. But yeah, there's definitely some books that it kind of becomes their entire identity.
Yeah.
Skaven, I think, are the worst offenders.
At this point, yes. I previously would say you're a Mortis guard, but
They're also pretty bad at it.
but they're just so tough. If you're
Yeah.
passing off a Blade of Wounds to, I mean,
And if they could only guard one unit as well, it would be a big,
Yeah.
But they can literally, you can have characters just surrounding the Mortis,
Yeah,
and
they
they're
yeah.
just taking it from everywhere.
yeah. Anyway, this was cool, and then the rest of the Gloomspite. They mentioned Soulblight was in there. There were 2 Bone Reapers lists, and like you said, the Ogres list, and then a big Waaagh list.
Yeah, the
actually.
only duplicated list was Bone Reapers, and duplicated faction, I should
Faction
say, because
was
they
the
had
one-
completely different lists.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
they were the only duplicated faction.
Hey Cody, thanks for the support. He says, "Cool shirt, Steven, support." Right
Thanks,
now,
Cody.
we also have a fun, a slightly less wild effect when somebody super chats. You saw the lights, I think, just change red.
Ooh.
Like answer the question. It's a quiz time for us, like in a game show.
Oh,
like,
right.
it
It's
gets
like, the lighting goes down. The
like,
dun-dun.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
Who wants to be a millionaire?
Very cool.
Okay, so you and I looked over the Flesh Eater Court stuff. We know that people have chatted about it all weekend long. You're either hungry for more Flesh Eater Courts content,
Oh, I
which
like what you did
we're gonna help. Oh yeah, I didn't even do that first.
hungry
Which
for more.
we're gonna help you with. Or you're annoyed by Flesh Eater content, which we're gonna be like, that's fine. We're gonna do something a little bit different. Or you don't care, one way or the other.
I mean, how can you be annoyed by Flesh Eater content? They are objectively the coolest, lore faction in the whole game.
Okay, let's talk about the lore. I want to talk about their lore. I want to start off there.
Okay.
Why do you like Flesh Eater Court's lore?
Because they took what was originally just, hey, these are vampires that have a bunch of cannibals for friends, and they kind of just congregate together, and they're kind of like the offshoots of the vampire society, to, hey, these guys all think they're like a functioning feudal medieval kingdom.
Yeah.
And they think they're on like these really grandiose holy quests, and they're having tournaments and feasts, and they're protecting the realm and helping the innocent, and like they're all virtuous
Yeah.
and noble, and they're all nuts. They're all corpse eating lunatics.
I
It's
was
amazing.
I've been thinking about this, and it is you're exactly right, because when you look at the different death factions, they all kind of have something going on, and kudos to the designers at Age of Sigmar at GW for coming up with 4 very unique death factions.
Oh yeah,
Because if you really think about that, that's not easy.
no, and Death feels like I mean, again, I think they were the faction that felt like they got the least variety and identity from the beginning of the game, because it was like, okay, Nagash is one and all is Nagash and great, and everyone just serves him. But then within that, they've kind of like what they did with the Chaos Cultists eventually with Warcry,
Right,
where they
right.
explored all the little societies and tribes that worship chaos in all its different forms.
Yeah.
Now you've got these really 4 distinct pockets of undead and like vampires and like the minions of the afterlife that all, yeah, they all do kind of like, serve Nagash in a way, but they're also their own societies
Yeah.
with their own desires and wants and like needs, and they all play and feel very different. They all express death in a very different way, and I think that's super cool.
The idea that these are like vampires and that they're just in this illusion. We were talking about I think on Hobby Hag at one point we were talking about Always Sunny, and it kind of reminds me of there's an Always Sunny where they go back to their high school reunion and do like a big dance number.
Oh yeah.
And it starts by showing it like really
Yes.
professionally, and
Yes.
it shows what's really happening.
Yes.
That's
It's exactly that.
Yeah. I love that about it. But it is weird. It is an interesting take. Like has this. So I didn't play Old World as much as I think you did, and I didn't play early Sigmar. When did this change like come about? Was it when it
Age
went
of
to
Sigmar?
When it, yeah.
So yeah, so originally there was one vampire book,
Right,
Vampire
okay.
Counts, and it incorporated all the different bloodlines. So Blood Dragons, Karsteins, I forget the other, Necrarchs, and the Strigoi, which are the
sorry. This is
cannibals.
in
This is in the Old World.
okay, Old World. Okay.
So what was the Strigoi, which was the ghoul vampires, like
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
Nosferatu style ones.
these guys.
These guys,
Yeah.
they became the Flesh Eater Court. So
Okay.
now the way it works is like, and this was pretty much in Age of Sigmar from day one. They were like, yeah, you've got these vampires who think they're noble like knights and kings and lords, but they're actually these crazy vampires.
Yeah, yeah.
But interestingly, the ghouls in Flesh Eater Courts aren't dead. They are
They're-
humans that have been infected with Usheran's
Right.
blood
Right.
and have gone crazy, but
Yeah.
they're technically not undead.
Okay.
So like they are different to like the Soul Blight. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
The Soul Blight are, we're all the vampires and these are all of our minions that we've raised from the dead and they're just automatons.
Yeah.
This is more, these are people who have, because they've ingested the blood, are now bought into this delusion that Usheran has.
Again, 4 like death factions, all 4 somehow managed to like have a different way of being like here's why there are minions.
Yeah.
Why there's hordes of minions.
Yeah, it's very cool.
All right, I did want to talk briefly about the model line. We haven't talked a ton about it. I'm going to end the poll. The poll was outside of Usheran
Because
who's
he's
so obviously
the best model.
Yeah, yeah.
Might be the best model this year.
Yeah, not a ton of votes, but the Vargoth Courtier has won here. This is the guy,
Oh, good.
the creeping guy.
Yeah, I'm glad because a lot of people, when I've been watching people's coverage of the new stuff, a lot of people are down on that guy.
I don't know why.
I love him. I think he's
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, I think when we watched the reveal, this is Meg's favorite model actually that they revealed. But all these are pretty cool. The rest equal votes. I was surprised Crypt Guard. I was thinking people might be down on Crypt Guard.
I mean, the Crypt Guard are cool,
they're
but
cool.
they're just troops, right?
Troops,
And it's
yeah.
hard to get excited about the thing you're going to have to paint 20
Yeah.
to 40 of.
I know, right? Okay, we each made a list.
We did.
You ready to chat this?
Sure.
Now, what we want to do is show the list we each came up with, and through that, we'll kind of talk about some of the things we think are cool in the book, some of the things we're excited about. I will say that you made a very Steven list, meaning a Steven list is Steven doesn't want to play big monsters or hordes, but you like that kind of like 20 to 30 model count.
Yeah,
army.
I like monstrous infantry. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like big infantry, like elite infantry. So yeah, I try to. Again, it's hard to. I don't think this is an army you're ever going to play as an elite army. They are very much
Yeah,
like my Bone Reaper list that I'm going to play tonight is
Mhm.
20 models,
right.
right? And it's like that feels good for a
That's
Bone
like,
Reaper
that
list. That's
makes
like, ooh,
sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
Flesh Eater Courts, I think you're gonna, unless you're doing the Monster Mash, which don't do Monster Mash.
Yeah. We've had enough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't even think it'd be that good. But if you were gonna if you didn't want to do the hordes of like Crypt Guards and Crypt Ghouls, I think this is what you'd try and play. And I think there's different variants to this as well. I think you could do a really flyy list, but I haven't done that. I've gone for more of an elite slappy list.
Let's start with yours.
Okay.
So
I look like a Crypt Ghoul in that picture. I look like I bought into the
Still
delusion.
using this picture of you. Okay, so talk to us about what you're going for here.
So obviously I went so this army, no matter which way you go, is hero centric.
Yeah.
The noble deed mechanic, which all heroes take part in, is super duper essential. So you want to have as many heroes as possible. I didn't max out, and I'll explain why. But I start with Usheran, the king, because he is the best and he is really good. I think he's great. I think he's perfectly like balanced. He doesn't feel, he's not Katakros, but he's also not, Neferata or the other ones, he feels like he's going to do a lot. He can actually put out a lot of damage. He can put out like 42 damage if you get lucky.
Yeah.
So he's kind of one of my major pieces. You know, he's a good quarter of my army, but he brings a lot of utility. But also he's one of my hammers. He'll be what I'll be sending in to try and deal with like major threats. Because he's also really hard to kill. He is super healy. I got him. I chose the Hollowmourne faction, which is the Knight faction, and Knights are the whole book is divided into like serfs, knights, or courtiers. So you're either a vampire, you're an elite guy who work for the vampires, or you're a serf who are like the lower class.
Yeah.
So I've gone for Hollowmourne, which is the knight-centric one, which increases all of your knights' melee profiles damage by 1 on charges, but not mounts. But all of the different crypt horrors, crypt flayers, they are all knights.
It sort of almost helps crypt horrors more than anything.
I think it does, yeah. So that's my sub-faction. So then I have an Abhorrent Goreward, and this is the new guy with the wings, who's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I gave him the I can't read.
Feverish Scholar.
The Feverish Scholar, which
plus the cast.
Yeah,
right?
makes him gives him +1 to cast, and if you max out your noble deeds, gives him +2 to cast, which is pretty sweet. And then I gave him the Flayed Pendant, which allows every Flesh Eat Court unit within 12 of him to reroll charges.
Yeah.
So just becoming command point efficient.
Yeah, now we, Steve and I both left some stuff blank in our lists, but Steven, the 3 main spells that you're picking from here is the Miasma Shroud, which is this weird kind of like you're rolling 6 dice, and if there's any matches...
Yeah, this is like Warcry. It's like playing Warcry in a spell.
I don't love this spell.
No, I don't either.
You're probably going to get 1 mortal wound, and that's it.
Yeah.
It has its casting value is 6, its range is 18, that's okay.
I mean, again, if you need to just generate noble deed points, sure. Go for it.
But then the other 2 I think are actually pretty good. And I honestly I think maybe Deranged Transformation, again, because of the range and the casting value.
Yeah. I have enough wizards, and most armies will have enough wizards where you just take the whole list.
You're going to take the whole list.
Because Usharan doesn't know it all, but like I have... Well, all the Aberrants are wizards. And,
you have all Aberrants.
The Aberrant Arc Regent is a 2-caster.
Oh, but is the Cardinals?
He's not a wizard.
He's not.
No, but I have... Usharan can cast.
Oh, he can cast.
Usharan can cast.
Does he know the whole lore?
No.
No, you got to pick.
Yeah, so I have 4 casts default there.
Yeah.
Yes, because the Cardinal can't, and then Grand Justice Greyman can't.
He doesn't have a spell.
No,
he's not. Okay. So, the spells are mostly good. That Miasma Shroud one is maybe not the best one.
No, that's probably the last one I'm gonna try and cast. But if I've got the cast, I'll. It might work sometimes. Like giving someone, because they are cumulative. So if you roll the quadruple,
it's cool.
You are really hurting someone.
Yeah, it is cool. 4 more dices. -1 wound, -1 hit, 1 mortal wound, and what was the last one?
Subtract 1 from wound rolls. So it's -1 to wound rolls, -1 to hit rolls, take a mortal wound.
Okay.
Which
you have to roll for right.
But they are cumulative, so if you get the quadruple, you get all 3.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah, I didn't choose a spell because I'm just taking all of them. There's only 3, which is, I don't know. I feel a bit weird about it. The fact they've only got 3 spells. I feel like they should have a full lore. All the other death factions have a full lore.
Yeah. Let's talk about Flayed Pendant as well. I think the other thing in this book, for me, that was, and we're starting to see this a little bit, but one of the things I thought was sort of like meh in this book was, we'll come back to your list here in a second, was artifacts. Artifacts are a little meh in this book. When I made my list, I don't like when I make a list like day 1 and I'm like putting an Arcane Tome in. I'm kind of like...
you never want that.
I'm kind of like, and for me, I didn't break my things down into battalions. You didn't really either, but presumably we can get a second artifact.
Probably. Yeah, because at least I think most of us will be able to do the hero one.
Yeah.
The hero one.
Command Entourage.
Yeah, because there's so many heroes in this army.
So you're going to be able to get that. You're going to be able to get a second artifact. And I think... I think like you're going to want to not really take any of these artifacts. And actually, this is a good.
No, I think there's some good artifacts.
I
just think there's like maybe one
few.
per courtier and per aberrant. I think.
Yeah.
All the thing.
This though, did you have a courtier?
No, because this doesn't really work as well for me. The way my list is playing.
Michael brings up a good point. The pennant is courtiers only.
Oh, is it courtier only? Oh, did I not? Oh no, I cut my
Yeah.
Courtier.
We
So yeah, I can't take that.
Yeah, see, I don't think the aberrant ones are great.
I'll find someone to take it though.
Whenever I see once per battle, I'm like, it's got to be really good. Like
healing 2d3 wounds on a big monster is real good.
But you don't have
because you could no, that's why I didn't take it. But like, but if you got a big monster, you can like you kill your target in the combat phase, your hero phase.
Yeah.
You do the leadership thing to heroic recovery. You use your fang, get 2d3 back.
Yeah,
and then it's got healing natively anyway. So you're just like, great. I've just healed probably 2/3 of my wounds back if I need to.
Well, so what do you take now then, Steven? If you can't take Flag Pennant, thanks for the call out, by the way, Mike.
Yeah, thanks for the call out.
-1 bravery.
Zach decided we were doing this like 2 hours ago, so I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'll throw a list together. Oh, I do the bravery thing because Usheran has some cool bravery mechanics, some bravery shenanigans, so I'd probably take the -1 bravery.
Otherwise, honestly, and this is
quite a big range. It's within 9, and it's not wholly within, so that's quite a big bubble.
Yeah.
Put it on the fly guy. He can, do some.
That's not bad.
Do some cool things there.
Okay, so back to your list.
Okay.
So what is the move here? How's this list work? Oh, talk to us. Let's talk about the judge.
The judge is great.
You're a little more into the judge than I am. The judge is a priest who's not a priest.
Look, right, I'll be real. It wouldn't bother me if this guy was 400 points and did nothing. That model slaps. That model slaps.
Model's so cool.
He's going in the list.
For sure.
Look at him.
He's cool. Yeah, we have him pulled up here now. I mean, none of these. He's like not bad at all.
Well, the fact that the abilities are board wide, as long as you can see them. So that's one.
Oh, that's true. 3 ups, which is
yeah.
Okay.
So he can kind of hide around and like do things. I just think these abilities are really useful. I think my army, because I only have 4 units, but 3 combat units, and Usheran, I need as many buffs and debuffs as I can get to maximize my combat efficiency. Right. So really, he's there to give me an ability.
This army. I think that's this whole army.
Yeah, but you can't interact with him. Like he gets to do those things. Yeah. You can't stop them. You can't dispel them.
He's not a priest.
Yeah, I just get to do them. So having a buff or a debuff that I know I can get off without fail is worth the.
Wait, you can't get it off without fail. It's 3 up.
Well, you know what I mean. Like, there's nothing you can do to stop me doing it, right? The dice are the dice. You know, you can't do anything about that. But really, he's just there to facilitate that. And obviously, he's also a he's a little wacky in combat. And he's also a hero, so he can generate noble deeds, and he can be a noble deed machine. And
that's it. Yeah. That is interesting about him.
So I took him.
Okay.
But he is probably the element I would, if I was like really tweaking this list to like take to an event, he's probably the element I would play with, because 140 you can get some pretty meaty characters for that price range.
Right. You could get a Varghulf Courtier. They're 165.
Yeah, and I'm not maxed out, so like I could even turn him into another Gore Warden, and do more deep strikey things.
Yeah.
I did take a Cardinal again to try the prayers out.
This guy's interesting. So the prayers are all kind of interesting. One of the sub factions, neither of us took it, actually changes all of your adds the priest word.
Yeah, that is cool. It's cool.
It is cool. It's interesting. Cities has one like that too, which is very interesting. Kind of weirdly, Cities doesn't have a prayer selection. Though it changes them all and gives them all the same prayer. Kind of weird.
I love these. These bless this meal is the greatest prayer name given this faction. It's so good.
So it's extra noble deeds. It's healing, or it's a 5-up ward.
Yeah, which I think again in my list, all super useful things, because I have turning my Crypt Horrors into 4 wound like Blight Kings.
Yeah.
Pretty nice. Like giving them the 5-up ward.
We were a little weirded out to see a priest in death. Did we think that like lore wise that didn't make sense, and now here it is?
It totally makes sense. He thinks he's a priest.
No, I know. I agree. Like this was the place to have it, but we were like, we've never seen a priest in death.
Yeah, no, I love it. I think again it gives the faction that flavor, and I love that he's still kind of wearing his Pope vestments. I love that he has a Pope hat and a Pope stick.
Yeah.
But his stick is some horrible mangled like corpse.
Yeah.
It's great. Like you totally believe that this was a priest of Sigmar, or like a priest of Order that was infected with Usheran's blood and is now a ghoul guy.
His prayer is not impressive, but again, you're gonna take one of the other ones.
I don't know. I think that's actually more powerful than people are giving that credit for. The ability to like turn off command abilities is super super strong. In the right
Yeah.
situations, that could be absolutely clutch.
Well, that's good because you're gonna be dealing with that tonight in our game because of my Whisper Blade.
Well, a Whisper Blade.
In cities, it's the.
Oh
the
wait, you're
command.
playing with cities?
Yeah, we're gonna play.
Wait,
cities.
I thought are you taking cities to LVO?
No, but
I thought we were practicing for LVO.
Oh, you. All right, we'll see. We'll
All right, I'll play. I mean, I'll play your cities.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious how they'll do.
Okay. I mean, I'm sure they'll be at the event, so it's good practice for me.
Yeah. Okay. So what does this list do, Steven?
Well, let me finish going through it. I gotta get through it all first. So then I've got the Abhorrent Cardinal, the priest guy. We have the Abhorrent Archregent, which is the awesome model that I can't find online of the vampire on the like leaning against
On
the
the chair.
masonry.
Yeah.
I love that model. He's in here because he is a 2-caster,
That's right.
which is amazing for 150. He is a 2-caster.
Yeah.
Him and the Skink Starsayer are just like
Seven-
laughing all the way to the
7
bank.
wounds is a little surprising too on this guy.
Yeah, and this guy's kind of the one that I probably think is going to sit in the throne for the whole game. I haven't put the throne on my list, but I'm taking the throne obviously because it's free. Why wouldn't I? And he does extra healing. He has the ability Carrion Call, which is a really good spell, which allows you to move a unit that came on during this movement phase. That will come on during the movement phase.
Yeah.
So it allows you to do movement shenanigans. But just he's a 2-cast wizard. Like that's it. He's great for 150 points. He's going to generate a whole bunch of noble deed. Then he's going to bring units back and do other things.
Yeah.
So
Returning. Yeah.
yeah. So that's the heroes. And then my battle line and my only units really are 2 units of 6 Crypt Horrors, which are the big tall ghouls. They're like the ogre-sized ghouls.
They were good in the old book, and they're still pretty good now.
Yeah, they're really good, I think.
Kind of weirdly, I don't think and maybe this is a good thing. I actually don't think the Crypt Haunter Courtier, who's like their leader guy, is like that impressive.
See, I almost put him in because he has 5 attacks that are Ren 2 damage 3.
It's one of the
the
he's one of
only
the things that
source.
hits kind of hard. And,
Yeah.
and you like we've been saying, Ren 2 is rare in this book.
Yeah,
And yeah, so for
he's
that
surprisingly
reason,
slappy.
and again, he is a character. He's gonna get points because he's gonna do
Yep.
damage. He's
Yep.
gonna get noble deed points because he's one of the few things that's gonna do a ton of damage.
Yeah, and I think he benefits from Noble Deed, so he will also get +1 attack. So then he's
Yeah.
got 6 attacks.
If you take out the justice, this is probably what.
Yeah,
this is
I'd
what
probably
you might
put him in.
But the thing annoying about this though, of course, is like the way you buy boxes of.
Yeah,
3.
I'd have to proxy one.
Yeah,
because I would want exactly 4 boxes of these guys, so I wouldn't have a spare
yeah.
to build one.
It's frustrating, but of course, then when you buy one, you can make what 2 now though. You can make because the Infernal Courtier also is made from that kit.
Yeah,
and he's actually a little bit better. I don't know if you saw what he does.
yeah, he is cool.
Neither of us are actually taking Crypt Flayers, but shooting wise, even though their range is kind of small, he makes. I think if you take Flayers, you have to take this guy.
So I think the other version of this Hollow Mourn that I would take would be Terror Guy, Zombie Dragon, these guys, and I would do an all flying, just coming
Shooty-
across the board, shooty army
shooty.
that just comes gets you.
That's interesting too. I hadn't thought of that, but seeing because he has 1 and they're Ren 2.
Yeah,
And he adds 1 to their damage, right? Yeah, so it's D3 plus
D3
1.
plus 1. So if you
Yeah.
got a unit of 6 of them, they will. That is a lot of damage.
He's 4 attacks. Are they all 4 attacks? They are 4
Yeah,
attacks.
they're 4 attacks too. So that Death Scream can really.
Yeah.
Especially as well if you're taking Usheran or you're doing things with leadership modifiers, it
Yeah.
makes the Terror Guy scream really, really dangerous.
Yeah, that is interesting. I'm realizing we're talking about it. It's not on your list, but
Yeah.
we.
But no, I looked at them, but I think you'd have to skew a list a specific way. But I think there's totally going to be an all-flying Flesh Eater Court list that does well, where it's just big monsters and these guys flying
shooting
around.
10 inches.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
the Dragon Breath is really good now. The
Their
Terror
battle-
Guy's Breath is good.
Their battle line in Blister Skin.
The battle line in Hollow Mourn, they're nice.
I don't know that they are. I think
Oh,
that
is it?
there's something funky about them. I think Crypt Flayers are only battle line Blister Skin.
Oh,
yeah.
interesting. Okay,
Kind of weird, right?
that's kind of weird.
And Blister Skin is the one that turns everybody into priests. So I don't know what the tech is there.
Okay, yeah, that might change things, but
It's not bad. I mean, everyone being again, the prayers aren't bad.
no. Oh well, actually, I guess I just use the Bat Cavalry as my battle line, and then they would be my other unit. I would just fill my battle line with the Bat
If you have a
Knights.
Gore Warden,
Yeah, if I have
they're
a Gore
still-
Warden.
they're still battle-
Yeah, which I think you always take a Gore Warden. He's
Yeah.
so good.
yeah.
Because they're my other unit. So I have a unit of 6 bats.
Oh, right.
The
Yeah.
cavalry.
Back to right.
Yeah, so I have a unit of 6 bat knights, which are also great. Again, all 3 of those units get +1 damage on charge.
Yeah.
And then my other unit, and this is where I dropped a hero to take this guy. This unit is the Royal Beast Flayers. Now that's because I figured in this list, I need to neutralize or make monsters weaker. Because I think they are something that's going to hurt my army. Is big monsters with loads of damage to soak with a high armor save. I would struggle to get through them. So the Beast Flayers go in, make them hit hard, hit weaker, and turn off monstrous rampages, stop the ability to shut off my command abilities, and basically just make monsters a bit more manageable.
Right.
I think that, and they're also then just going to score objectives and stuff because they're like
so cheap too. It's weird how cheap they are.
Yeah, 14 wounds for 115 points.
Is crazy cheap. Now, I mean, they're not.
They're not bad.
They're not bad at all.
Yeah.
I feel like I actually have to say I feel like for the first time when the Cities book came out and I saw points, I was like, I think these points are mostly right, and they didn't do a lot of adjustments. I feel like this book is going to get a lot of points adjustments. I think Crypt Guard are too expensive, or Crypt Ghouls are too cheap. There's a we'll see in my list. There's a disparity there between those two, in points that's not correct. It can't be. We'll look at it here in a second. I think these 115 seems cheap for these guys to me.
I mean, don't forget they are 1 wound with a 5-up save. They're gonna die. They're gonna die to a stiff breeze.
Yeah.
So I mean, their effect is good, but they're only they're not gonna be like if these went into a monster on their own, the monster's probably picking them up the same turn. Really, they're meant to go in with one of the other units to kind of just act as that debuffer.
So what's your overall strategy for this list? How's this list work?
So the overall strategy is cast a bunch of spells, buff up my units, debuff the things that I want to go into, and then obviously I need to make sure my charges go off because the whole thing of this subfaction is I get more damage on the charge. So I never want to be charged in this army. Yeah. But my bats are really fast. Some of my heroes are fairly quick.
You've got the Gore Ward and Bat combo too.
Yeah, I've got the Gore Ward and Bat combo. So yeah, my Crypt Horrors are kind of like they're filling the role similar to what Immortis Guard do, where they're kind of like tanky hammers. Where they're nowhere near tanky as OBR. Like these things do die. They aren't super durable. But if I can get a 5-up ward on them, that they've got a lot of wounds. The recursion in this army, which is kind of hard to see on the list level, the recursion is shockingly good.
It is, and you're paying for it for sure. But like this is that because when you actually look at this, I'm looking at this and I'm like, wow, this is a tiny footprint. For an army that doesn't feel like it should be a tiny footprint, but the fact that Crypt Horrors are coming back in groups of 3, if they're not also being brought back individually,
so you can bring them back.
But see that's you almost need a courtier, right?
I do need a court. So I would probably to be fair, I would probably drop the probably the priest for a courtier.
The cardinal for you do you almost I'm realizing you really do need one.
Yeah.
And that gets you the pennant back as well.
Yeah, so again, I think the hero, there's so many hero choices and they're all pretty interesting. That was the hardest part of this because I think my line units there are what I would want. The other thing I've thought about doing is 2 Gore Wardens, 2 unit of 6 bats, and really just having a Usheran and a base that sits on objectives and kind of like, if you go into it, you have to go into all of it.
2 Gore Wardens, 2 bats, and then the rest just Crypt Horrors and maybe a character? Like...
Yeah, because then you can teleport. You can put a lot in like to do deep striking.
That sounds kind of nice. Yeah. This looks fun. Now, I'll say that when I made my list, I ever the pragmatic person, I decided to try to make a list that was stuff that we've done this before. We did this with cities. I've done this with FOMO boxes. I was like, what's out already, and what's in a FOMO box? Because we're probably not going to see Ashurin or the Judge until February, I'm gonna guess. It's not coming out. My guess, not by LVO.
No, probably not.
So if you and technically this book may not even be legal I don't know how they do that.
So the book isn't legal until it's out on general release.
Right.
So until it comes out, which will probably be with Usheran and everything else. But that will be. Yeah. I mean, how long was it for Seraphon?
Honestly, it could be March.
Yeah, what was the?
I don't remember Seraphon, but Cities was forever.
Cities was a while, wasn't
Cities was a while.
When did that box
Slaves,
come out, like
Slaves to
August?
Darkness was a while too.
Slaves to Darkness. Yeah, well, actually, Slaves to Darkness is probably the best one because I think that they did that because I got that one for Christmas last year.
That book,
so
did,
it's
yeah,
like,
and that book did not come out till March.
yeah, okay, so
Yeah.
so we're probably looking at March.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a while. So I decided to make a list that was things that come in the FOMO box.
Which is also, to be fair, what I'm gonna do because I'm gonna get the FOMO box.
Right,
so
right.
I'm probably gonna do the same thing.
FOMO box and what's out already. So here we go, and only one FOMO box, by the way. I'm taking Morgaunt, which is the one that gives you extra noble deed points if the character is contesting an objective. And my general theme here on my list is to get noble deed points. So Steven, what delusion? We forgot to talk about your grand delusion.
Oh, just the +1 attack, the feeding frenzy on 4 points, not 6. Because in my army, Usheran can give out an extra delusion every turn, but I can choose it. So the other ones I feel are more situational, but that one feels like it's always good.
Which is the one I will take here as well. So I'll have that one. So I actually took the Varghulf Courtier as my general, and gave him Cruel Taskmaster, which means when I spend a point on a serf, like a Crypt Guard or a Crypt Ghoul, I actually get 2 back.
Yes.
Or I can spend 1 point to get a knight to get a Crypt Horror back.
Which is probably the best command trait in the whole book.
Kind of insane.
It's real good.
Courtiers actually, I think, got maybe better command traits and artifacts.
I think so, but I think that's good because it means that they're not as powerful.
They're not as powerful. So this guy actually, I like the Varghulf Courtier. In addition to, by the way, I gave him an Arcane Tome as well. Again, I know that's a little lame, but I want him casting spells because every time he casts a spell, he gets a point too.
I love that you've got your army being led by a giant monster that's not only giving out orders and being a cruel taskmaster, he's also reading books and casting spells. Who is this Varghulf?
He's interesting.
What is he doing? He's like Beast from X-Men. He's like this weird guy, but he's actually like super into philosophy and arcane stuff.
But I like this. I like this model. It can retreat after combat, so not after it fights. It does have to get hit back. But again, as Steven, you and I were looking for things where Ren 2 shows up.
Yeah.
And this guy is one of them. Now, he natively only has 1 attack. But
that's his bite, right? He's got like a chomp.
He can get up to 4 though. 1+1 if he gets the the feeding frenzy. Up, yeah. +1 if he gets the feeding frenzy.
You went too far.
I'm like,
stop. You scroll so fast.
So fast.
There
he is. Okay. +1 if he gets the feeding frenzy. +2 if he goes into things with wound characteristics 1 or 2. That's just his ability.
So you can get. Wait, so he gets 2 extra if he goes into a unit. Oh, so so he can have 4.
Up to 4.
And you get him on 4 noble deed points, which for him is probably going to happen because you can use the heroic action to generate D3. I think right.
The heroic action, being on an objective, casting a spell.
So I feel like he's gonna get that +1 attack pretty quick.
He's gonna be up there by the time he gets in combat. So I think he's like, he's fragile. Like if somebody goes, I mean, he's not super fragile, but he's fragile enough. Like he's not gonna survive a lot of monsters out there or combat centric units.
No,
right?
he's a vampire guy. He's just very big.
But on the plus side, I have 80 crypt critters.
Crypt critters. I like that name.
To guard him. We'll get to crypt critters in a second. So I wanted a beat stick, so I did take a Ghoul King on Royal Terrorgeist. I gave him the pennant, which again I can't. I actually had to move the pennant.
Yeah, we both did messed that up. Yeah.
I had to move the pennant to a courtier. I gave him Gruesome Bites, which just makes him do more of the bites. This is kind of this thing can no longer do the double attack like we've all been subject to. Yeah, thank gosh.
Yeah, glad.
But still giving his bites a sporting chance to get a 6.
Yeah, and again the feeding frenzy gives you an extra dice to do it, so you still get you get an extra attack, so you still got a whole bunch of chances to get that off.
So I guess I'll have to give. Oh, I guess it's scary to give the Flayed Pennant to a Crypt Ghoul.
Have you not got the flappy guy?
What's that?
Have you not got the flappy guy?
The flappy guy?
The Gore Warden.
I don't. I took him out.
Oh, I'd totally take a Gore Warden and give him that, because then he's like just this 12-inch aura that can move 12.
Yeah, but I ran out of points. Okay, so look, I've got the Archregent. He's good. There he is. Double cast.
I think I'd just replace him with the Gore Warden.
Yeah?
I don't think you need the extra cast. Like the spells aren't that solid, and you've already got because you guys got an Arcane Tomb. The guy on the Terrorgeist can cast one, and the
Mhm.
Gore Warden can cast one. So it's like,
Yeah.
that's 3.
Yeah.
You really need more.
No, I guess you're right. I guess you're right. Well,
Although it doesn't solve your problem. He's still an abhorrent. Where you need someone to put the pen.
the Gore
on.
Warden is in a barn.
No, it is an abhorrent Gore Warden. That's his
Oh
name.
yeah. Yeah. Okay, so cool.
We're bad at this.
Yeah, we're yeah.
The book's not even out yet.
You know
leave us
why?
alone.
It's because we don't see class, Steven. We, no,
Also, if
no.
maybe if they'd sent us a box to already open and read, we'd be
Yeah,
way more
yeah, we'd
versed
be
in this
more.
book,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
If you want us to do that and get that, you
Yeah.
know, like all the videos and share us and stuff, so
Yeah.
Games Workshop pay attention.
And if harass Matt Rose,
Don't harass him. He's a lovely man.
he's a lovely man.
Send him polite messages about
Send him
how he
polite,
should
yeah.
send us things to talk about.
I'm looking for what's a better Courtier option. The Infernal Courtier and the Haunter aren't amazing for me, so I don't know. Anyway,
What about I told you the Herald, Marrow Scroll Herald. He's your man
yeah, he's a
because
Courtier.
no one can get rid of him.
Yeah.
So you just hide him behind
Yeah,
your
yeah.
army of ghouls and he has
So
your pennant thing.
maybe replace the Archregent with him.
Whoa, that feels bad.
Yeah, I know.
No, replace one of the Crypt Ghosts.
I don't know that I can. They're cheap. He's
Yeah, but you got points to spare. I don't think there's that much difference. I think he's like 120, 130. I think
that's
you
too
can fit
much. I wouldn't have enough.
it in. No.
I'm at 1985.
Well, figure it out. You'll get there.
Figure it out.
You'll get
Just-
there.
okay, but I do have two of them.
Drop some of your endless ghouls.
Okay, I
There's
do-
so many ghouls.
I know. I'm into hordes these days. I do have two of these guys. These guys are kind of cute. Basically, they are just gonna get points, and they do almost nothing.
Yeah, and they have the what is actually quite standard in the other Death armies is if a hero attacks, they can attack. A
Ye-
unit can attack.
Sure, you don't necessarily want these guys anywhere near combat
No.
in most circumstances, but really, I'm just using them for the points. Keep in mind, 4 points gives me Feeding Frenzy.
Yeah, but they aren't casting spells.
They're not casting spells.
So if they aren't doing it in combat, how are they generating Noble Deed?
Being on objectives, they're gonna get 1.
Okay.
Heroic actions.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I still think that's slow going.
It might be a slow go, but they're cheap. Yeah, maybe I replaced 2 of these with 1. I don't know, of something else. Or
I think 1 Marrow Scroll Herald is better than 2 of these, to be honest.
Yeah,
I think so.
Maybe. What's the range of? He has a 3-inch range on his thing though.
He's got a 2-inch weapon. He can hide behind some ghouls and slap
Yeah,
people.
that's true.
But he also can't be targeted by anything.
Yeah, but he doesn't do anything until he doesn't have spells. He's not gaining points either, unless he's in combat.
Well, maybe give him the Arcane Tome.
Yeah.
Because your other guy is going to kill
The
stuff.
other guy's gonna kill stuff.
The other guy's
The
gonna
Arcane
kill
Tome
stuff,
might
sure.
almost be overkill for him getting points.
Yeah.
Okay, then my battle line, as you can see, is Upsal ghouls.
But it's good ghouls and then bad ghouls.
So, what do you think is the good ghoul and the bad ghoul? You think the Crypt Guard are good?
Crypt Guard are amazing.
I think
Giving out a 5-up ward and having a 5-up ward?
yeah, and
What?
they do a -1 rend natively.
Yeah. These
But
guys are awesome.
Crypt ghouls are always probably going to get -1 rend anyway, or often going to get -1 rend.
But do they give out 5-up wards to your heroes? Though?
They
do
don't.
they have a
But look
5-up
at
ward?
the price difference. It's 120 points more.
Yeah, but
for-
I think they're two different roles. I think okay, maybe the Crypt Guard are, I don't know, like
one of these. This is what I was saying earlier in the stream. One of these 2 units, the cost is wrong. There's no Crypt Guard or
also
either,
they shot out command abilities. These guys are insane.
these guys are
quite
either,
literally and in the game.
but they're still really fragile. These guys are either too much or Crypt ghouls are too little.
5-up wards. Think about the recursion, right? 5-up wards are not fragile. Anything with a 5-up ward is inherently not fragile.
Mm-hmm.
Like, remember all the Stormcast armies that just take Guard of Steel Soul just to be a 5-up ward bubble?
Yeah.
He literally makes that army function. It's like 5-up ward natively, and they give it to heroes, and they shut down command abilities. Like, if you attack with these guys into a unit,
Yeah.
that unit can now no longer use command abilities. So if they haven't all-out defense, or they wanted to all-out attack on the backswing, guess what? Nope.
Yeah. No, shutting down command abilities is big. We know that. Yeah. They're interesting. I still
2
maintain
attacks each as well, with 2-inch range.
the 2-inch range is interesting. I still maintain that I don't know which one's wrong, but the lists, the points seem out of whack.
I think getting 20 guys for, what is that, 280? 20 guys with a 5-up ward, giving 5-up ward, shutting down command points for 280 with 2 attacks, rend 1, 3s and 3s. Feels great.
Probably 3 attacks too, right?
Yeah, probably 3 attacks, yeah, and other buffs. And then you're getting 21 wound guys with nothing, who are naked, who don't do anything apart from are just bodies on points.
No,
for 160.
Look, they do, first of all, they're probably going to be 1 rend also.
Okay, yeah.
And they're probably going to be 3 attacks.
But they're 4s and 4s.
They're 4s. What are these guys? Are these guys 3s and 3s?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's
a
big difference. Yeah.
Yeah, huge difference.
Crypt ghouls, I think, are good though.
6-up save, no ward.
6-up
well,
save,
apart from
no
they got
ward.
death ward. Everyone has a death
they're
ward.
6/6, and 6 is to hit wound automatically. If you have 20 or more, which you can do, this because you can bring guys back.
Yeah.
5s and 6s wound automatically.
Yeah, which is cool. Yeah,
it's cute. Because you're not. There's no real way to get that wound up in this.
No,
book,
and I think having.
That's not true. There's a couple +1 wound things.
Yeah,
Actually,
I mean, again, I think they're good. I think they have a place. I think 20. They remind me of dryads. These guys remind me of dryads.
Yeah, a little bit.
But dryads also just die to everything ever, and they aren't really that.
And so are these guys.
Exactly.
But dryads are expensive compared to these guys.
Yeah,
right?
true. Yeah. But again, I think their profile is a little worse. I think you can get some buffs up these. I think these are a really good tar pit. I think they're going to surprise a lot of people.
I think so too.
Because I think they can get pretty killy.
In this army, which has the good recursion, these guys coming back in groups of 10.
Yeah, and fishing for the auto hits, auto wounds is great.
Yeah.
Because again, their wounding is 4+, so the fact that you're just negating that a third of the time is awesome.
Is amazing, yeah.
And yeah, if you can get them the rend 1, yeah, I mean they're good, but I think they serve different roles, and I think in this army with these heroes, and especially you kind of want your heroes on the front line because they're courtiers doing some fighting to get noble deeds. I think you need the crypt guard to give them that defense.
Yeah, I think so too. But I like my ratio here. 20, one of I don't know that I need more than 20 crypt guard. And by the way, I'm talking about the box anyway, right? This is actually what I can do. We actually have 80 crypt ghouls here.
Yeah, but I think all right. I would challenge you to run this list with the crypt guard and then without them, and I bet you will notice a dramatic difference.
I think you're right about the crypt guard. You've talked me into it. Having 1 unit of 20 sounds good. I don't know that I would take more, and I still think taking 60 crypt ghouls is gonna be obnoxious. It's gonna be.
The problem is, I think looking at this army is that you have 1 hammer, and you don't really have anything else.
Well, the horrors, I've got the horrors.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see the horrors.
Yeah, I still have 6 horrors. So I have the horrors and I have the Terrorgeist.
The horrors again. They only get rend 1.
I know.
And you don't get the extra damage buff. Yeah, I don't know. Horrors. I'm jury's out on if horrors can actually be a hammer in this army.
Currently, people seem to think in the current book they kind of are considered a hammer, and they haven't changed.
Yeah, no, they haven't.
In fact, they've gotten a little bit better if they're in your sub faction, the one you took.
Yeah.
But mine, they're not. They're not going to get that plus the damage. So they have the 3 damage if they get 6s to hit. This
is the space I like books to be in, though, is that where all the units seem viable, and there's no immediate wins and losses. I feel like this is going to be a really fun book to build lists from because everything feels like I could enjoy taking it.
I think the thing, well, not that we missed the boat, but we didn't address again is the crypt flayers with the courtier and like 2 courtiers and 2 units of 6 crypt flayers. That is some very nasty shooting.
Yeah. I think the army is, it's funny because we were talking about shooting last week, and I feel like this book has it down where the shooting isn't going to dominate, but it's definitely going to be enough chip damage and enough whittling things down where then you can go in for the finish. I think this is exactly where shooting should be.
Now, okay, one thing that we did miss is that his breath weapon is D3.
Yeah.
Theirs is just 1 damage.
Yes.
Okay, but the rend...
But there's 3 of them, maybe 6 of them, and they have 4 each.
It's like you said, if you wanted to do this, I think you take 2 units of 6.
I think so too.
And that would be kind of a lot of scary shooting. At rend 2...
Yeah, and they're scary in combat.
And they're fast.
They're not they're no slouches in combat.
Oh yeah, they're not. And
they've also got reach, so you can actually fight, and you can kind of
And kind of fun is they pick up a foot character.
Yes.
And take him with them.
Just transport them around.
Yeah, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And actually important because you can
you can have a really fast army and pick up the support pieces that you need to be with you.
7 wounds, I think, means you can't take the Varg off. Oh, you can't take the Varg off.
He's massive. He's not carrying him. That would take the whole unit carrying them together.
He also moves 10 on his own.
He's quite fast. Yeah, otherwise people would just be picking up Usheran. Usheran would just have a cloak. His cloak would be
No,
held by these guys, and he just flies around.
No, the 7 wounds is just it's 7 wounds. The heroes have 7.
Yeah, but now I want someone to kit bash Usheran like the Up House. I want Usheran to be carried with like 6 of those vampire guys, just carrying him around,
The
just
Up
flapping
House.
their little wings, carrying that giant guy around.
It should say if you have 12 of them, they can carry Usher.
Yeah, 12 of them can pick him up.
Hey, this army looks fun. I think they made a book that when the Soulblight book came out, I remember we were looking at. I remember being like, "This is weird. This is weird."
That book.
Wow, this is good.
The book
Wow,
was
this-
already
right,
busted, and then
right.
it got better, and everyone
Right.
was like, "How did this book get better?"
Bone Reapers and Soulblight and Seraphon. Those 3 books when they came out, I felt pretty immediately like something's not right. Like these books are
Yeah. Well, I think Seraphon. I think the book is fine. I think there was just like a couple of wordings on 2 specific things that made it really silly.
But I will say our initial thoughts proved to be 100% correct.
Yeah. I mean, we got that book. I built that army in a day, and then I like tabled you with it. It was like, this army is jacked.
Yeah. This army looks good to me. It looks fair. It looks balanced. But Cities is the one that's come out in between, and I'm still trying to get a sense of if Cities is. It's definitely at least good. It might be too good. I'm not sure yet.
I think the difference with I think why this book's landed in such a sweet spot is because they had a very small range that they tweaked the scrolls of, and then they added new models to plug the gaps in that range, and the range is still fairly small. Again, it's not comically small like Fire Slayers, but it's still not big.
We were worried, for example, that the Knights and the Flayers were going to kind of like compete with each other in a way that made the Flayers pointless. But it doesn't.
No, they all fill very
Yeah.
different roles. Whereas Cities, I think the issue and the challenge is that they've got a huge range that they've had to pare down, and they also wanted to introduce a new range on top.
Right.
And there's a lot of moving parts in that book.
The Dispossessed seem not good. If you want to do all Dispossessed,
No,
I don't think.
But I think that was a band-aid for a Dispossessed release earlier than later.
I agree. I think that the elves are interesting. Our friend KK Drax in our Discord bought just a ton of them recently. He's gonna try to do the elf thing.
Nice. The Dark Elves, right?
The Dark Elves.
Yeah.
They're just so cheap. But I can't yet tell where Cities is. And I don't think anybody's. And Matt Rose himself mentioned that in this video. Actually,
He did.
These guys look like they're gonna be good, but not too good.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think could you like go 4-1 at an event with this army? Yeah, totally.
I think they're gonna reward good players because of their movement and objective shenanigans.
Yes,
a little bit,
and I think the noble deed mechanic, having to manage it, I think there's a lot more play in that, and you've got to kind of know how to maximize it, when to spend it, when not to spend it, because it kind of is your buffing component, but it's also your resource to spend. And I really like that because like Relentless Discipline, to compare it to the OBR mechanic, I just spend it. It's just a currency, and I just spend it. There's no real disadvantage.
There's no,
just spend it as fast as possible.
Yeah.
Whereas this, if that was also like the buff of the army, and as I depleted it, the buff weakened, it would be a different thing. And I think that's what they've really. It's like they combined Relentless Discipline and the Slanesh mechanic, and they combined it into one that does the job of both. And I really like that.
And you can't hold more than 6.
No, per hero, which I think is. I think the tricky with this, and what I'm curious to see on the table, is because you're going to have 5 or 6 heroes. It's managing each of their own respective amounts of noble deed points. I think is going to be where the complexity comes. And when to make sure you've got things that you need in the auras, and that you can spend it where you need to spend it, and where it isn't going to impact the buff. Because you only need in your army, you only need one guy with 4 to give the buff out, right?
Right.
And then if everyone's covered in it, everyone else can spend it how they want. So I think positioning of heroes is going to be really important.
Yeah.
I think the way you beat this army is you just go and delete the vampires. You ignore the army and you delete vampires.
Yeah.
Because I just don't know what the army does if the vampires die.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah.
And they're not hard to kill either. Apart from Usheran. Usheran is an absolute tank.
He's gonna be hard to kill. Yeah. No, none of the rest of them are. Even the dragons aren't that hard to kill. No,
not really.
They're 4-ups.
There is that nifty one, is it a command trait or an ability where you can bring a dragon back with like 8 wounds?
Yeah. It's gotta be non-hero.
Ah, okay, so
Yeah, yeah.
which you're not
It's
doing
for Gristlegore. It's for Yeah.
I like that though. That's cool.
It is cool. Okay, Steven, you and I are gonna call it here. You and I are gonna go play a game.
Yeah, we are.
We're gonna get some taco truck tacos.
Yes.
Yeah, get some taco truck tacos, and play games. Cities versus Bone Reapers.
Yep.
I'm curious how this game's gonna go. I feel like Cities have some tools to deal with Bone Reapers. Typically, when I play with Bone Reapers, I'm like just hoping for the best. Can I make those tools work? I did play this list once on Friday against Meg, against Nagash.
Oh yeah.
It did not go well for me. No, she wrecked me.
Who'd have thought that a bunch of guys with guns wouldn't kill the literal Lord of Death?
Yeah, it was
shocking.
It was. She's been playing this list, and she finally got it working. And now she's like, cool, I can retire Nagash after one
We never
win.
talked about Nagash in this army, actually. I'm like, is there a play for Nagash in this book?
His points are higher.
Yeah, he's like 965.
I can't believe they raised his points.
I think they always start with Nagash at 1,000 points, and then they just slowly release it down.
His points are about to go up everywhere?
No.
Okay.
I think it's just because it's a new book. They're terrified. Someone might find a combo that breaks Nagash, and then they have to deal with that.
These spells are good. There's only 3 of these spells because he gets the lore that of the army he's in.
Look, unless they said he's a wizard, priest, vampire, courtier, and a Borat, and he can do all the things of all 4, then I'd be like, okay, cool.
No, he's not good in this book. He remains best in Nighthaunt, I think.
Yeah, because Nighthaunt need the most help.
Nighthaunt need the most help, and they have a bunch of mortal wound spells.
Yep.
So he actually can sit there and do mortal wounds.
He's probably fine in Bone Reapers, but when you've got Catacrys and Archon, I'm just like, why would you even bother?
Well, you take Nagash and like Morghast Archai.
Yeah.
Or like
I did once. Okay, I almost before this new book came out, I did toy with, because I have the models for it, apart from Nagash, doing a list which was Nagash, Cogs, 5 units of cavalry.
What was it? Nagash? What else?
Nagash and 5 units of the Cavalos Death Riders.
Oh, okay.
And the whole point was one of them was a unit of 15, the other 2 were units of 5s, and the 15 would just go in and just delete things with mortal wounds.
Okay.
Because back then their charge mechanic was per model.
And this is when Cogs. You were saying this is when Cogs helped.
When Cogs helped the wizard be amazing.
Yeah.
And then that was it. That was the whole list, I think.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, I wonder if this is any fun.
It's not.
I never bought Nagash.
I can tell you it's not. Nagash is not super fun to play against. Awesome. We did it. Guys, we're going to see you next week. Anything else, Steven? Ready to face some men of Sigmar?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah. Okay. Guys, we'll see you. Bye.
Bye.